Hey, welcome back to Mondays in the Meditation Room with Dr. K. I'm so glad, y'all, that we are back. It's been a whole month. I hope you've been enjoying the replays all month long because it's always good. And even if it was your first time watching, I'm glad you joined us during my April respite and rest. And I'm grateful to be back in the meditation room with you. So, welcome to Mondays in the Meditation Room with Dr. K for Midlife Musings, where you will find all things enlightenment and empowerment for Black women in midlife, and especially those of us who are somewhere on the continuum of what I like to call the pause, perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. That is. So welcome. How you doing? I missed y'all. Did y'all miss me? Okay, I missed y'all. Welcome back, Enlightened Woman Tribe. We're glad that you are here. And if you are following me on social media, I hope you are at the Enlightened Woman on Facebook, Enlightened Woman Enterprise on IG. You know that this is my birth month. Yay! I need a clap machine. I'm so glad this is my birth month and I celebrate all month long. Matter of fact, I take advantage of the fact that my birthday is in May and I call this month, all month, is my spring reset. Dr. Marcia Levi, who is one of the experts coming to our Serenity experience, and more about that in a moment, um, has said that it is good for us to follow the seasons and do a spring reset and a fall reset, getting ready your body, your spirit, your soul, and mind for a new season. And for me, I love it because this is the season where things are awakening, coming back alive after the rest in winter and beginning to bloom. And so I love it. So I'm already in my spring reset, starting to do some new things to help me live optimally during this midlife season. So we'll talk more about that in the coming Mondays in the meditation room. But I want to remind you, as you see, I don't have a banner, so I'm my own banner to show you my t-shirt that y'all, we are counting down to the Serenity experience for women in midlife, well, worthy, and wealthy. Our theme this year is grown woman things. Can I tell y'all, I'm so excited about it. It's happening September 20th and 21st. We'll be going back. We're traveling back to the Pearl Modern Spa and Boutique in Columbia, Maryland. And our host hotel is the Meriwether Lake House, just a stone's throw from the Pearl Spa. Y'all, can I tell you, last year was the first time we were there and it was phenomenal. A time of respite, rest, empowerment, strengthening, learning, having fun, crying, laughing, all at the same time. And so I'm inviting you to come. Just say yes. Say yes to yourself. I know you want to come. It's going to be amazing and life changing. I'm so excited about our experts that's coming. Uh, Dr. Sharon Allison Adi will be back with us. She started with us from the very beginning, and so she's coming back. I like to call her our resident doctor. Dr. Marcia Levi, who was introduced to the Serenity Experience Sisterhood on last year, phenomenal. She has to come back, right? So she's coming back. But I've added and so excited to introduce you to some, and maybe some of you already know her, but I call her the wealth maven and guru and coach, LaShawn Holland. She's going to come and talk to us about what we should be doing with our midlife money. So I'm excited. September 20th, 21st, go to enlightenedwoman.global to register and get more information. So here we are in the month of May. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And did you know, I read somewhere that it's Black Women's Health Month too. So, I'm excited about that. All things empowerment and strengthening for Black women, because we are absolutely genius and the world needs our presence. And we need to be as healthy and as strong and as confident as we possibly can. But we cannot ignore our minds. We cannot ignore our mental health, our emotional health, and wellness. And so for the month of May, we're calling it in Mondays in the Meditation Room, Mind Your Midlife Mind. Those moments that you need to take to mind your mental and emotional wellness. And the actual theme for this month by NAMI is taking moments. Take the moments. In other words, don't keep pressing, don't keep pushing, don't keep trying to do it by yourself, don't keep trying to do it without support. Take the moments you absolutely need for your mental and emotional wellness. So that's what we're talking about tonight. And this is just part one. And then we have part two coming up. And I could not do it by myself. I'm so glad God has given me a cadre of amazing sister friends who are gifted in a myriad of ways. They got them five talents. And I'm so excited to welcome my sister, co-pastor Lisa Clark Harvin into the room. Right, I do need one of those clap machines. I need one of those clap machines. So I'm gonna clap for her myself. Welcome, welcome, Lisa back. This is not her first time. She's been here by herself. She's been here with several sisters as we continue to learn, to grow, and reimagine who we are in midlife and beyond. But specifically, I needed her to come and hang out with me this Monday and next Monday as we talk about minding your midlife mind. Y'all paying attention and being intentional of taking those moments for your mental and emotional well-being. Welcome to Mondays in the Meditation Room, Lisa.
you, sister. I am honored and excited to be here with you and with all of the sisters out there.
Yeah.
Grace and peace to everyone, especially those of us that are in the pause.
Yes.
Okay? Whew,
Yes. And we are determined to thrive in the pause. And
absolutely.
statistics are
Absolutely.
really alarming by how many women, almost 87% of women, do
Mm,
not get the medical and emotional support they need during this time. They're literally suffering in silence. And we are determined to make a difference in that dent, to lower that percentage. And that's why we are here. We are normalizing the conversation. We are destigmatizing the conversation and
yes.
definitely decolonizing our health and well-being.
My goodness.
As Black women, we are in a Western society in America, and so things are completely different than what our DNA says about health and wellness. We are spiritual beings. We are attached to the land. We are connected to the land, and we know how intuitively to really heal and to live our lives. So we come out of that Western mentality of just give throw some medicine at it and don't pay attention, don't talk about it. Uh,
Right.
no, nope. We are used to, our ancestors used to gather the women together and talk about
Absolutely.
it and heal each other and encourage and comfort one another. And we're getting right back to this whole individualized, you over here and I'm over here, and don't show your weakness or don't know vulnerability. Well, no, we're reclaiming who we are as Black women, uh,
Absolutely.
learning how to thrive during this time. So I'm so glad that we get to do this together.
Me too. Me too. And what a great topic.
Mhm,
As Black women, we know that just as a culture, right, we have been inundated with stress. It's
mhm,
just like part of who we are. We have so many demands on us, so many, and especially when we talk about in this era right now, in this time that we're living in, this post COVID time, the
mhm,
demands have even exacerbated now. So we have so many things that we're juggling all at the same time. I was laughing thinking about us preparing to do this and how you were juggling,
mhm,
and how I was juggling. And it's just something that we deal with every day, and we don't even realize how much stress we put on ourselves and then
mhm,
how much stress that others put on us. We're now caretakers, and so that
mhm.
comes with the whole it
It-
comes with a myriad of issues and problems, and it brings on a lot of mental health issues that we don't even acknowledge, right? Because of the
Mm.
stress of trying to take care of mom and take care of auntie and take care of ourselves and take care of our kids and take care of job and all these things that we're managing. And oh, in the middle of that, oh, we're in menopause.
Yes, say it again, say it again. Oh my
So
gosh.
how are we processing? How are we processing? That's the question. Are we even
Oh,
acknowledging? Are we acknowledging that emotionally we may be a mess, that, spiritually we may be a mess, mentally we may be a mess? And are we able to recognize I'm in a mess and I need some
right.
help? I need some help. I need number one, we gotta take the cape off.
Yes. Oh
Take
my
off
God.
that
Again,
cape.
again for the sisters in the back.
Take the cape off and say,
Yes.
I am not
Mhm,
Superwoman or Wonder Woman or whatever, however you say you are, Batgirl.
mhm,
I'm not her.
mhm.
I
And
am.
no, we never were.
I never was,
We never were.
and
We
I
thought
was
it was
never
working.
her.
We thought it was working, but
It
it
wasn't. All I
wasn't.
was doing was fooling myself,
Mhm.
right? And then eventually you crash and burn. You
Yep.
crash and burn, and you
Yeah.
can
We
crash and
know that.
burn physically. You can crash and burn mentally.
Yep.
Ah,
And that's what we want to talk about because, as much as I appreciate us as Black women, what our history is and how we've healed, we know how to do, listen to our bodies or listen to our intuition and know
right.
how to heal. The truth is, um, we've also, the flip side of that is, um, don't tell nobody your business. Don't
Mm,
share anything with anybody.
my
Um,
God.
have it all together.
Right.
Don't talk about it, So we do have that flip side of that coin. And before we even get there, though, I digress. I have to come back. I want to just take a moment and talk about my friend Lisa and who she is in this season of her life. Um, the things that I do know about her is that she is a loving and amazing wife, mother, daughter, but that's not all of who she is. She is working in an area where I say you have to be called to it, and that is social work. She is a MSW in social work, and she has a heart for the health of wellness, mental and emotional wellness of people. And it is definitely a calling. She is a preacher's preacher. Yay,
Mm,
she is. You see, co-pastor,
thank
she
you,
is
sister.
shepherding people. She's called to do that at the gift, the Greater Emmanuel Faith Temple,
Yeah,
alongside her husband, the Bishop Durant K. Harvin III. And we absolutely love them. She has, oh my gosh, 4 adult children, not young adult, I mean full blown
out the house, hallelujah.
adults and out and on their own. What a
My God,
blessing. What a blessing that is. She is a daughter and hails from Boston.
that's right.
Woo! Boston, Massachusetts, y'all. And I'm just so excited about her newest passion and calling. Well, it's new to us, but that's been a part of what she does for a long time. And that I'm calling her a grief doula, right?
Okay.
Teaches us about grief and really is bringing it to the forefront and reminding us that that's a part of our humanity. It's a part of who we are. My husband and I had an opportunity to attend one of her first workshops in Sorrow to Serenity, and Lisa will have to remind me of the actual theme for that day, but her
Leaving gracefully.
grieving gracefully. I even have a t-shirt. You want to know how that is so powerful. And so that's going to be a part of what we talk about today and over the next time we meet again for part 2, as we talk about, minding your midlife mind taking intentional moments for your mental and emotional well-being. But Lisa, what would you say about yourself in this season of your life? Anything you want to say to introduce yourself to us? I'd like to hear it from Lisa instead of me just trying to introduce her. Just what would you say about who you are and where you are in this season in your life?
Well, first, thank you. And what would I say? I would say I am a work in progress.
Mm,
I have an MSW, as Kelly said, Reverend Dr. K. I'm sorry, Dr. K has said. I have an MSW from the University of Maryland in Baltimore, and I am a child welfare specialist working with young people who are in foster care currently. But my
mm,
passion is grief and loss. I am the founder and CEO of Sorrow to Serenity, which is a platform designed to assist those with who are grieving, to understand grief, to learn about grief. My aim and my hope is to just educate, especially African Americans,
mm,
on grief, because that's a topic that we just don't tap into, don't talk about. We just ignore, and we only deal with it when we have to. At least that's what we think.
mhm.
But the reality is, we're grieving every day. We're grieving right now. Right
Yeah,
now, you're grieving. Right now, you're grieving something. You've lost something, someone, and you grieve.
yeah.
So, my joy is to do that. I am the co-pastor of the gift, as Dr. K has stated. I love God's people. I love God's word. I am still learning. I am in the process of going back to school to get my MDiv, to
Mhm,
complete my MDiv,
mhm,
and still trying to do more with the social work arena,
mhm.
toying with, praying about, possibly going back to school for that as well, and on a PhD maybe. So
Yay!
keep me in prayer.
Mhm,
Love to teach. I love to see the light bulbs go off and people be like, "Wow, I get it. Oh, wow."
mhm,
It's something about that. But grief work is
mhm.
something I've done since I was in high school. I was a doula.
Mhm,
Funny that you would say that, but I was actually a grief doula. I was there with my cousin brother who had leukemia,
mhm.
and I literally laid in the bed with him until he was gone.
Wow.
So for the last 2 weeks of his life, I was with him, and I didn't realize at the time that God was preparing me
Mhm.
this work, but that's where I am. So I'm glad to be here to talk about
Mhm,
mental health and our minds, and
mhm,
getting our emotions together, and understanding when we may need to seek help,
mhm,
understanding that menopause brings with it all kinds of changes that happens in our minds,
mhm, mhm.
and trying to normalize those things. So I'm
Wow.
happy to be here.
Yay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know what, the amazing thing about this season in our lives is that I'm trying to move us to a place, even though it's very challenging and difficult. I think it is that way because we have not been taught about it. One of the things that happens when I first started doing it and talking about it, I would ask women, did anybody talk to you about midlife? Did anybody talk to you about menopause? Did you even know there was such thing as perimenopause? And the answer was always no.
Nope.
But now, of course, and that was probably about 5, 6 years ago, if not longer. Look, I got my book right here. Let me see what year. And so I was like, okay, so the book came out in 2020, and that was after, kind of talking about it for a minute. And then, the book came out in 2020. But now I love the fact that the landscape is changing because, celebrities are talking about it now. You got Oprah talking about it now, and Naomi Watts, and Drew Barrymore, Halle Berry, they're starting to talk about it more. And I'm loving it that we are getting to the place that we actually now have like Jill Biden, the First Lady of the United States of America, kind of encouraging President Biden to do a not wait for it to go through Congress and all of that, but he literally did a um, not really a bill, but he wrote it into, added it onto a research
Okay.
thing that he did, but he's targeting money over 200 million towards women's health research. And part of that includes women in menopause. Why? Because over a million women between now and 2025 are going to be in some phase of perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. Half of the planet, right? And then half of the workplace is women who will be dealing with menopause. And we are woefully unprepared for that.
Mm,
Most physicians are woefully unprepared for it, which is why a lot of women are having such a difficult time. But what I appreciate now that there are companies who are popping up, so you have to do your own research, but providing online care for women struggling with menopause and symptoms and hormones and all of the above. So at least there's more talk. And if you're watching TV now, there's even a medicine that they
yeah,
are
right.
advertising for hot flashes, vasomotor symptoms, which is what we call hot flushes, or night sweats. So at least the conversation is happening. And there are two bills out now that came out in this last session to deal with research, better medical care, and help that's coming federally, because it
Uh,
affects so many women in the workplace and just in general. And so, if that's the case, then as Black women, it's affecting us doubly, because research has shown that Black women, um, I don't want to use the word suffer, but experience menopausal symptoms longer and more severe.
yeah.
They're not sure why that is, but it is the case. Many girls start their cycle a year and a half sooner than white
Earlier.
women. Asian women, we started earlier and it lasts longer, which
Yeah.
can create, health issues when you're dealing with a deficit of estrogen that affects every system in your body. And when you're not getting the help and the support and the medical attention that you need, including mentally and emotionally, you're going to suffer longer. And so we are coming for that. We are fighting against it by platforms like this, by talking about it. And so we need to start. For me, I always say mastering midlife. That's where I started as a part of my tagline for Enlightened Woman. But I'm adding mastering your midlife inner life, because
Mm,
that's where it begins already. That's where it starts. What you're thinking, how you're managing your thoughts, how you're managing your emotions through this process. Because the decline in estrogen creates serious mood swings and anxiety and depression.
mm.
And it's not talked about a lot, just like postpartum depression was embarrassing to talk about. And women suffered for the longest with postpartum depression after giving birth. And they didn't want to talk about it because they felt that they should be the super mommies and they should be happy all the time and everything should be wonderful. But your hormones are all over the place
Mm.
after you give birth. And here it is, another reproductive thing that happens with women, that can create unstable situations happening in our minds and in our emotions. And so for Black women, it's been found to be more, uh, I guess, precarious. And one of the things they're saying, Co-Pastor Lisa, is part of it is, what they call racial weathering that affects our immune system. And racial weathering is the fact that we are under constant, all the time, ongoing racial or gender biases. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And they were like, yeah, if you're constantly dealing with micro and macro aggressions as a Black
Which we
woman,
are.
and we're getting the intersectionality of that by being Black and woman,
Hmm.
right? Always being second guessed, judged, you know, thought that we're not as intelligent or we're angry
Absolutely.
or, over sexualize us. It's all of these, things that we aren't, pigeonholing us. And when you have to live with that on a regular basis, it suppresses your immune system. Who knew? We didn't. And so like that could also be one of the things that feeds into why we suffer more extremely than other women. And I was like, oh my god, how do we counter that? First of all, by knowing. And
That's
then
the first thing.
I
Have
was
to know.
like, what?
Yeah. Have
Yeah.
to educate yourself. You have to be aware.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. And I was like, wow, because everybody is trying to make us think
Mm.
that we're living in a post-racial society. And even some of us think that because, now we can work where we want, live where we want, drive what we want, wear what we want, but we
But
don't
can
realize,
we? But can we really? But
like,
go ahead.
can we really,
Mhm.
without somebody reminding us that we're
Right.
black and woman?
Right.
And that begins to affect us. And so when we start talking about cardiovascular diseases, heart attacks, the number one killer of women, and in particular black women, is stress. And not just stress, because life brings stress, but stress from constantly having our existence questioned.
Mm.
There's no way you're okay
No.
without support and help. So let's, I mean, really talk about what does it mean or what does it look like to be mentally and emotionally well? Like, what does that look like? Do we know what that what that looks like?
Well, so do we know? Okay. So mental health. When we think about that term mental health, it really is used to describe your overall well-being psychologically, right? So it includes your emotions. It's based on how you think, how you feel, and how you act when we are faced with challenges, when life brings what life brings, right?
Mhm,
How are we responding? So that determines our mental health what's the word I want to say? Your mental health capacity, I guess, or not, no, not capacity. Your mental health well-being, where you are, your
mhm,
barometer.
mhm,
So based on when you are faced with life challenges, how are you responding? What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
mhm,
A mental health is essential for leading a healthy and balanced life, right? So, and mental health is what helps us to cope with stress. It can build relationships. It can help us make positive decisions. And it can be affected by our physical and our environmental factors. Our
mhm,
genetics can impact our mental health. Our lifestyle
mhm,
impacts mental health. And so it's important that we, number one, understand what mental health is. And then what is emotional health? Emotional health is described as the capacity to identify and manage emotions and feelings, as well as the emotions and feelings of others around you. So,
mhm,
when you think about being emotionally healthy, you have to also think about your self worth. It involves understanding who you are, understanding you emotionally,
mhm,
regulating your emotions, and maintaining, this is a key, good relationships with others. Now,
mhm,
I can tell you that during menopause or perimenopause and even postmenopause, relationships will be challenged.
mhm,
They
mhm,
will be challenged. And emotionally, you can really see if you're emotionally well, if
mhm,
this is such a term, or unwell
mhm.
during those seasons. So emotional health is fundamental to mental health. Gotta
Yeah.
have both. Gotta have good mental health as well as emotional health to be, I would say, a well
Mhm,
person, a person that is healthy, right?
mhm,
And so, how do we how do we do that? Number
mhm,
one, Dr. K said it first. You have to know. You have to understand. You have to understand what those look like.
Mhm.
You have to understand what a person who has good mental health looks like and a person who has good emotional health looks like. And you have to be real honest with yourself.
Mhm.
I think that it's really key as Black women because you talked about how we like to mask, how we like to hide.
Mhm.
We don't want to share that we're struggling. We don't want to share that we may be having thoughts of 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 let's say, I don't like myself. I don't
Mhm.
like where I am. I don't like what's happening with me. We
Mhm.
don't like to share those thoughts. We want to hide those. We want to mask them. We want to act like all is well.
Mhm.
And we feel like as women, sometimes we feel like if we do share that that means that, you know, there's something wrong with us. No,
Yeah.
it what it means is number one, we're human.
Mhm.
And number two, we need help. Life,
Mhm.
life is so hard.
Mhm.
Life is so hard, and
Yes.
when our hormones are out of balance and when things you add that to the mix, it can be difficult, and it is so important to, number 1, just say, "Emotionally, I may not be myself.
Mm.
I may not be at my optimal,
Yes. Yes.
but that doesn't make me a bad person or a bad mom or a bad employee or employer." It
Yes.
doesn't.
Yes.
It doesn't. So it's important that we um acknowledge
Mhm.
acknowledge with ourselves and with the people around us, especially if you're in a relationship with someone. You definitely want to be honest with yourself first so that that person can say, okay, okay. I mean, I'm married, and so I can tell you that as an African American woman married to an African American man, and
Mhm.
I don't know, I know there's a term for what men go through. We go through menopause, and
Menopause.
yes, okay. And so I'm married to someone who's right there.
Mhm.
And so both of us are in this pause
Mhm.
at the same time. But if I am not mentally and emotionally healthy, then
Mhm.
I bring that to this relationship. That's why we see relationships implode. I always wondered when I was younger, I would see couples break up
Yes,
after being
Lisa.
married for 30 years.
Yes. Yep.
You're like, "What happened?" And now that I'm there,
Mhm. You
I get
understand.
emotionally and mentally,
Mhm.
you have got to be healthy. And it
Mhm.
starts with being honest.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
You
Oh,
have to be honest because if not, you bring that dishonest person who's dealing with emotional issues and mental issues, and you're mixing that with
mhm.
this person that you're living with who's dealing with the same type.
Yes.
And but nobody's communicating because everybody's hiding,
Mhm.
right? Because everybody wants to look strong and look
Mhm.
perfect. It's mm-mm.
It's a
It's okay
recipe
to
for
be
disaster. It's a recipe, which is why I started Fourth Mondays. Harold is with me. We
oh, great.
Mondays we do it together, dealing with midlife marriage in the meditation rooms.
Wow.
We have those conversations, and if you're watching this and you have not, you're in relationship, you're married, I suggest you go back through the archives and watch those Fourth Mondays.
I will have to watch it.
He's very open and honest about the whole andropause thing, and that nobody talked about that either.
Nope.
But we talk about that because midlife marriage is most precarious during this time. And that
Jesus.
is so true. Everything you just said is so true. And we have not been taught to communicate that. We don't even, most of the time, we don't even know what's going on with us.
It's
Right.
true.
We
It's
we
true.
we don't know, and that's why we're talking about minding your midlife mind, because you literally, that was the title. I have to put it on our social media graphics as well, but I sent it to, I keep on saying Dr. Lisa. I'm just go ahead and say that because she's on there,
Lord Jesus.
right? That I almost lost my mind. The mental and emotional challenge of a Black woman. So that's what part one is. I almost lost my mind because you feel like that. You're like,
You
what's
do.
wrong with me?
You
What
do.
am I losing? What is happening? And that feeling of instability, that feeling of, you know, feeling so discombobulated, it can affect everything you do. And because they'll say, oh, yeah, I did notice back when I was young, my mother said she was mad about everything. She would go off,
Right.
at the, at the drop of a hat. That's because her emotions were all over the place.
All over the place. So you talk about feeling anxious, feeling depressed, having emotional outbursts. I mean, there's so many things that come with when we think about our mental health and our emotional health, sleep problems and menopause,
Yeah,
sleep
yes.
problems, weight changes, appetite changes, or you could be withdrawn, you could be more quiet, not as social. All these things are happening inside of us,
At the
in
same,
our minds, in
and
which
we have no, we feel so out of control.
out of control.
And when we go to our doctors, they're like, "There's nothing wrong with you."
Nothing wrong with you.
I
Right.
remember having all of the things, and even I remember Oprah telling that story about how she had her whole cardiologist team and everything, and turns out she was having heart palpitations as a part of perimenopause and menopause. But the issue is when you go to doctors that are not well versed in women's health like that,
Yes.
and not knowing how to discern the season and what's going on with the
Right.
woman's, you send her home like there's nothing wrong with you.
Wrong with
And
you.
I remember just having a whole lot of things going on, and somebody said, "Well, have you thought about talk therapy?" And so we all know that that's therapy, and I've been
Mhm.
in therapy. So what that said to me was, okay, so now you telling me I'm crazy, or that whole stigma of I'm I'm not, there's nothing really wrong with me, but it's all in my
All in
head.
my mind.
It's all in my
Right. It's all
mind.
in my head. Right.
Mhm. But that is not true. And that's the thing that exacerbates it for women, because something is happening with them physically.
Right.
Just because you can't diagnose what it is and you're not well versed to know that it's because our estrogen is dropping. And so we're having digestive issues. Our hearts are palpitating. We can't sleep, the whole thing. And so you feel like, I almost lost
Am
my
I
mind.
losing my mind? Right. No, you're not.
So,
You're not. You're not,
that
sis.
is why, I mean, everything you just said was so true. And that's why I wanted to make sure we're talking about it. So another sister won't feel like she's alone, and that you're not losing your mind. You are
You're
feeling
not.
what you're feeling, you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and it is
Absolutely.
real.
It
And
is real. It is okay. It is
Mhm.
normal. It
Is
is
that's the other thing,
normal.
is it's
It's
not a
normal.
medical crisis, it's your body doing what it needs to do, but we have to learn how to support it, and we have to learn how to
Absolutely.
support our mind, which is one of the things I'm
Absolutely.
also glad about, is that you will see Black women creating spaces like this for self-care, encouraging Black women to take care of themselves and to not feel like you are weak or not doing what you're supposed to do, or you're being selfish. It's necessary. It is a necessary thing for you to do. And that's why we're talking about it. So if you are experiencing erratic thoughts, if you are experiencing anxiety attacks, things that are starting to affect you now that didn't affect you before, if you just feel generally unwell, if you're feeling sad, um,
Right. If you are doing having high risk behavior, you find yourself doing things that you would not normally do, or if you're
mhm,
neglecting yourself, if you feel like you're performing less than well,
mhm,
all those things feel, or if you have times where you feel excessively high, like,
mhm,
sometimes you just be on a high and you're trying to figure out why. You may even feel manic.
mhm,
Those are all normal responses, and normal feelings that we will have
mhm,
during this time when we're in this midlife.
mhm.
And so it's so critical that we take the pressure off of
Woo!
ourselves.
Say it again. Say it again. I wish
Pressure
I had an
off.
organ to
Take
back
the
you up right
pressure,
there. That's the that's
take
the
the
shout right
pressure
there.
off. Give yourself some grace.
Yes.
Please.
Be patient, kind, and
Oh,
compassionate with yourself.
you
We're
have to.
giving you the tips already. We just kind of segue into it naturally. That is it. Say it again. Take the
Yes,
pressure
take the
off
pressure
of
off.
yourself.
Take the pressure off. If you feel, worthless sometimes, feeling guilty, and then you feel bad that you have these thoughts. Take the pressure off. It is okay.
Mhm.
It is okay to have thoughts of anxiety. It is okay to feel quiet one moment and be on a high the next. It is okay to
Mhm.
have and normal and uh dare I even say I just think, I'm okay with having appetite changes. I'm okay with knowing that there's times where I may not be able to sleep.
Mhm.
I have insomnia. I'm all over the place.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with being all over the place right now. And I have to let myself be okay.
Okay.
It's really important because I think before we can expect others to understand and
Mhm.
give us grace, we have to give ourselves
We have
grace.
to give
We have to
ourselves
take the
grace.
pressure off us.
Mhm.
And then
Perfection is not necessary in anything
it's not
because and learn how to listen to your
our
body.
own bodies.
If
And
it's going
if you
red,
find yourself with a doctor, a primary care physician who is not hearing you, then
mhm.
you need to find another one.
Yep.
There are so many out there that are better versed. I'm not going to say well versed, but they are better versed with midlife
Mhm.
and what it brings,
Yes, thank you for saying
especially
that.
for Black women.
Thank you for saying that because you can Google it. You can go to the National Menopause Society. You can
Yes,
Google and say, put in menopause specialists, OBGY, or really GYNs that are menopause specialists, or you may need a urogynecologist. And at that point, and I just did a workshop at Wellspring. Another Lisa, who's the co-proprietor, did her 2024 Mind, Body, Spirit, and Soul retreat 2024, and the she allowed me to do a workshop dealing with menopause, thriving in midlife and menopause, and so many of the women there were hearing a lot of this for the first time, but they knew something was going on, but had not heard. And so I was saying, you do not have to stick with a OBGYN, um, and I tend to say GYN, but OBGYN, because if you're in perimenopause, you are still in the birthing season and you still may want to have children, and that is
right.
absolutely okay. Right. So find an OBGYN that specializes in menopause, or at least well versed, and you get to call and ask. And you do not have to stay with a doctor that is not serving you well. We feel like because we don't know, we just got to stay and take it, but you don't. There's options out there and you can ask for them. We say urogynecologist because during this season, a lot of us start dealing with incontinence, right? If you've had a hysterectomy and that space is there, sometimes you have what they call prolapse, is when your organs begin to kind of shift into that space and may affect your continence and all of that. And I'm Lisa.
Hmm?
Nobody taught nobody taught us that, right? So
Nobody.
having those kind of symptoms, you need to find somebody that's doing that. That
Yep,
whole, if you're having, pain with sex and all of that, those are the things that then it's a cycle, because when that's happening with your body, then it affects how you feel about yourself, and then your mind
absolutely.
and your emotions, and then that affects how your body feels. So we're saying, give yourself grace, be kind. Oh, Pastor Lisa said, just allow yourself to be okay with where you are.
Right. And
Find somebody to talk to about what you are feeling. Yes.
please, please, because as women, there's so many of us suffering in silence.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us suffering in silence and living with depression, living with anxiety, living with grief
Mm-hmm.
and isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
and and
my God, isolation. Yes.
yeah, and so we have to do better. And the only way to do better is to know better,
Mm-hmm.
right? And once you know, then you can
Mm-hmm.
act. But we've got to know. So, a number first thing I would say
Mm-hmm.
is be honest. I keep saying it. Be honest with yourself.
Mhm.
Be honest with where you are. Be honest with how you're feeling, and know that you don't have to make apologies for
Mhm.
feeling the way you feel. You don't have to make apologies for if you're feeling depressed. You
Mhm.
don't have to make apologies. Just have to be honest. This is where I am.
Mhm.
This is where I am, and then now I need to know how to move. How do I make the transition?
How do I move?
How do
Edu
I move? How do I move forward?
Yes,
How
and
do I move
of
forward?
it. How do you move forward? And that's the thing. Sometimes we get stuck when we don't have answers, or we feel like something's wrong and we think we're the only one and we don't want to. First of all, know that you are not the only one. Then I
You're
just
not.
said a million with an M, and it may even be billion, because we're looking at half of the planet, women who are going through this very same
This
thing.
very same thing, and we tend to, and we have to remove the stigma of,
Mhm,
well, if you're having a problem with your mental health, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, that means you're weak. There's a
mhm.
sign of weakness or
Yeah.
even mental illness. We have got to remove that stigma.
Mhm,
We have to learn how to eradicate it. We
mhm,
really do, and the only way to do it is to confront it.
mhm.
Is to confront it.
And get and know that you are worthy of it, of prioritizing your mental and emotional
It
well-being.
is you are so worthy of it. You are so important and so significant.
Mhm,
And as a people, and especially as Black women, we are resilient people.
mhm,
And so it's important that we acknowledge that, right?
mhm,
I have dealt with and lived with so much and been able to make it to this very moment. So
mhm,
even if I find myself right now in midlife struggling mentally, struggling emotionally, does not mean that I am weak, does
mhm,
not mean that I am insignificant,
mhm.
right? But it means that I'm human.
And I am gloriously and divinely woman, because
Ah,
this is a part of womanhood. This
it's
is a
a part
part,
of it.
a rite of passage
It
as a
is.
part of a woman, as a part of the continuum of our reproductive self. Because
Absolutely.
we don't talk about it because there's so much shame around it. Because when we start talking about reproductive health, we get quiet. We don't want to talk about it because we only think sex. But it is not, it's not dealing with and champion our reproductive health is not majority or mainly about sex and
It's not
having sex. It is about the whole process of being a woman with ovaries, right, and a vagina
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
that produces the hormones that are sex hormones, but not the physical active, but how we identify as male, female. And we go through it. You going through this because you have ovaries
Right.
and estrogen.
Right.
And once we learn that this is just the normal, and I don't even want to use the word just, but this is God's perfect design for us as women
Mm.
to shift us. And here's the thing, here's the power, and here's the shout,
Ooh,
Lisa,
God's
that
perfect
I had
design.
to learn is that this really is our body saying, it's now time for you to pivot into another place of power. It's your body is saying you are no longer required to
Ah,
birth or
that's it.
deal with
That's it.
family.
But
You're
so many people
mhm,
equate menopause with death,
the
right?
end.
The end, but
Let
it
me
doesn't
get in
it
the rocking
doesn't
chair somewhere in the corner. No, this is actually the place where women are their most confident and ready to walk in their purpose fully because their
it's
life.
a time of self-discovery.
Come on here.
I mean, you learn so much about who you are, and so for me, I am approaching this or navigating this season
Mhm,
as a gift,
mhm. Yeah,
if you will. It's a
yeah.
gift because I'm discovering more about Lisa,
Mhm,
right, than I ever have in my 20s, in my 30s, and
mhm,
even in my 40s. I've learned and I am learning so much more about her,
mhm,
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of it, all of it.
All of it.
So
I
if it
love
can
that.
be a gift, it
This
feels
tells us, can I
yeah.
tell you, this conversation is so good that it's time for us to go, and I ain't ready to go. Oh my God, y'all, but I'm so excited that this is just part one. Part two is coming too. And it's called Is It Just Me or Am I Losing My Mind? Nope.
Mm,
We're literally now going to even really focus even more on the mental and emotional challenge of
yes.
grief and loss during the
Okay.
transition and transition. Because that's why it's also challenging, because your body is no longer doing what it was doing. You have to shift, and at any transition and transformation there's a loss, and we have to learn how to navigate that. And we have the best person with us in the meditation room to talk about it. This has been such a rich and incredibly enlightening and empowering conversation. I hope you feel better. Please leave chats and comments so that you can help each other, because this is also a safe and sacred place where we teach and encourage one another. So please, I hope I didn't say it at the beginning, but don't forget to leave your comments, your insights, ahas, so that we can encourage each other. And let me remind you that you need to find spaces with like-hearted women to
Mm,
grow. That's what the Serenity Experience is for and all about. So make sure you put that date on your calendar, September 20th, 21st. I got all kind of payment plans, 2 payments, 1 payment, 3 payments. Just get it done. And I love it because we're hosting it at a spa. You also, and we start at 1:30 this year. And that means that prior to that, you can make some appointments, get some pampering done, take some movement classes, or get a room and make it a getaway and spend some time with yourself at the hotel. Just go to enlightenedwoman.global and look for the information for the Serenity Experience. You do not want to miss it. It's a necessity for your life in this season. Thank you.
can I just say I was a participant last year and it was amazing, amazing, amazing. So I encourage you and you and you to get your sister girls, your cousins, your aunties. Listen, it is not about age.
That's
You can
right.
be young. You can be a young person who hasn't even, you're not there yet because we're now having conversations about it.
Mhm.
You want to be in the room. So
Mhm.
register, register, register. You will not ever be disappointed. I promise you. It is an amazing experience. I'm making sure that we have a nice group from our church, and not just my church, but my family, to be present because the information that we received was invaluable,
Invaluable.
invaluable. So register, register.
Thank you, Lisa. I didn't even pay her to do that, child. That was good. Thank you. So thank y'all for hanging out with us on Mondays in the Meditation Room with Dr. K for Midlife Musings, where we are redefining this season as the most empowered and confident way that we can live our lives. And is we are determined to thrive in this season and this rite of passage in this significant season of your life. I love it. Mondays in the Meditation Room, Enlightened Woman, where you will find all things enlightenment and empowerment for Black women in midlife and beyond. I absolutely love you. Don't forget to follow us. And don't forget to go to Kelly B. Hayes YouTube channel or watch all of the replays. And I'm looking forward to seeing you. Come back next Monday, because we'll be back again for part two of Minding Your Mind in Midlife, taking
Mhm.
those intentional moments for your mental and emotional well being. Love you. Have a great evening. Talk to you and see you soon.